All right, everybody, welcome back to the Lorcana Lounge. Brandon and Logan here, bringing you Emerald from set 4, Ursula's Return. Um, Once we're done with this, we're halfway through, and we are almost halfway through with the week leading up to the release. We're trying to get there. We're moving.
We're trying.
We're trying. Card 69. Nice. Is Cricky. Lucky Cricket. 5 cost. Inkable. 3 strength. 4 willpower. Spreading good fortune. When you play this character, your other characters get +3 attack this turn. 3 lore and rare. That's pretty powerful. I mean, for a cricket, that's pretty crazy.
For a cricket, that's pretty crazy.
I can see that being very useful. Jeez. You could wipe your board if you have 2 or 3 other characters on there.
I
like it.
I'm tending to think this is a little too situational. 3/4 with 3 lore is obviously pretty strong. That's a lot. But for 5 ink, that feels a little bit, kind of a little bit expensive. Not necessarily too expensive, but at 3 lore, this has such a large target on its back that you're not going to probably get to quest with it more than once. And then the +3 attack is I feel maybe a bit too situational. I'm comparing this to I believe it was Merlin Crab that gave a character challenger when he came into play and when he left play for that matter. And I definitely was able to make use of it a few times, but not very consistently, and it was cheaper. So it was easier to kind of work that into my game plan. Whereas this is, at 5 ink, that's going to be a lot of your turn. Yeah, I think it's just to me, it's a little bit too expensive. Yeah. And since it's only
my thing
for the
is,
one
it's
turn.
all other characters. Your other characters get +3. So it's, I mean, if you're trying to board wipe and you run this card, that'd be pretty sick. And then you get to quest with it twice because nothing's probably going to come in and hit it. Hopefully. That would be the biggest use, really. But again, it is situational. You have to have the right board state. They have to have the right board state, and then use this card to clear theirs.
Yeah.
Or get close to it at least. Not a bad card. Not the best card.
Yep.
So let's go to 70.
70. Diablo. Devoted Herald. He's a 3 cost uninkable. 2 strength, 2 willpower. Quest for 1. That has shift, discard, and action card. Play this on another character named Diablo. He is evasive and says, during each opponent's turn, whenever they draw a card while this character is exerted, you may draw a card. And he is legendary. Holy crap, I like that a lot.
Dude, multiplayer games.
Oh my lord. I'm even thinking, you're right, multiplayer is going to be insane. But even one, like in a traditional head-to-head match, an evasive, it's a little disappointing that he's only got 2 willpower, but I get it. But even if you don't get to shift him in, like he's only 3 cost. So you can just hard cast him on turn 3, quest with him on turn 4. He's evasive. If your opponent doesn't have an answer immediately, you're starting to gain value. And that is, even on the way I read that is even on their like normal draw for turn, they do it. So you are guaranteed when you pass the turn to get to draw an extra card than your opponent. And that's good.
That's very good.
Yeah.
I don't really get why he's even a shift, but it's cool that
Yeah.
he is, I guess.
What you
Is it?
could do, I guess, is you could play the 1-cost Diablo on turn 1 and then play this also on turn 1. So on turn 2, you could have this value immediately.
Yeah. And it's doubtful that they'd have an answer that quickly for it.
Yeah. If you're on the play, I mean,
yeah.
That's pretty crazy. Although Teeth and Ambitions takes care of it immediately, and then you're real sad. You've lost the Diablo 1 cost, this card, and you discarded an action card, and you were able to draw 1 card. That's a net loss, and that feels bad. But otherwise it's good.
There's a couple things that could.
Yeah.
Actually, no. If they Teeth and Ambitions on turn 2, you didn't get to draw a card because he wasn't exerted.
I'm saying you play him on turn 1 and play Diablo on turn 1, shift him in on turn 1, and exert it on turn 2. If you're on the play.
Oh, yeah. But if they're turn 2, they Teeth and Ambition, you wouldn't get a card even.
If you're on the draw, you don't even you don't even get to draw.
Yeah.
Feel real bad.
It feels real bad then. Yeah. It's interesting. It could be cool. I mean, even a late game would be.
Yeah.
This would be super useful.
I mean, that would put you so far behind immediately that game would be a real uphill slog. But even in like the mid or late game, if they just don't have an answer to this, it only takes like 2 card draws, maybe 3, for this balance to have swung.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden
Super
now
it's
valuable. You've already got your value out of it. And with evasives, we talked about it before. Evasives are pretty tough. Tough to deal with.
And Enchanted.
Yes, Enchanted. Black background.
Yeah. Yeah, that's boring, honestly. Not a fan. Yeah, next.
71.
Number 71. Another Diablo. It's a 1-cost. Maleficent Spy. It's inkable. 1 strength, 2 willpower. Scout ahead. When you play this character, you may look at each opponent's hand. Wow. Quest for 1, and it's common. I mean, it's not Ursula. You don't get to do anything with it. It's not bare necessities. But if you play this on turn 1 in preparation to shift your other Diablo, that would let you know whether or not to play your turn 2
or turn
Ursula
1. Turn 2 Ursula.
Yeah, to get rid of something.
If you did this Diablo, you could know if you can play your second Diablo without getting totally smacked in the face.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Unless the top deck, like you always do, but yeah, it'd be fine.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's really good. That's a great effect for a 1-drop. Common.
Yeah.
I like it. 72.
72. Gunther, the interior designer. He's a 4-cost inkable with 3 strength and 3 willpower that can quest for 2. That says, when this character is challenged and banished, each opponent chooses one of their characters and returns that card to their hand, and it is common. It's interesting. I initially feel like this is not very strong. So the 2 lore is obviously really good and may be able to apply enough pressure for your opponent to not for your opponent to have to compromise. But what I'm picturing in my head is when I'm playing this, my opponent is going to get a character in a situation that they want it returned to their hand. It's either got damaged, it's heavily damaged, they want to heal it up, or maybe it has as it enters the battlefield effect that they want to re-trigger, and then they're going to kill this and get to heal that character or get that enter the play, when you play this character effect again. I feel like this would backfire too much to be consistent for me. For me to
I
wanna
can
put it
see
in.
that going poorly.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think it kind of depends. So I guess it depends on the play, right? And so in normal constructed, that's what my brain is thinking mostly. But this may be something that is really good on like in like the draft situation, right? It just having something that's questing for 2 is a 3/3 that has a downside if when your opponent hits it. That may be enough to win you a game in some draft matches. So
yeah, if they get scared of it, they could even gains you 4 lore. I mean, that's pretty dope.
Yeah,
it's not bad. 73, Gus, the champion of cheese. He is 2 ink. He's inkable. 2 strength, 3 willpower, 1 lore, and a common. Vanilla card. 2/3.
Yep.
It's decent. 74.
Hades double dealer. He's a 4-cost inkable with 3 strength and 3 willpower. Quest for 1, and you may exert him to banish one of your other characters. Play a character with the same name as the banished character for free, and he's legendary. Very interesting. Awesome. So this works like a shift. Doesn't have to be a shift character. But instead of if it gets let it go to your ink, well, you don't get 2 ink, you only get the 1 because your other character was banished. Interesting. I think that's strong. I think that can be pretty strong. I feel like it's maybe too inconsistent. So I'm trying to think through some of the more expensive characters that are out there that aren't shiftable, right? So if they're shiftable, then I'm probably going to want to shift them. But if I'm thinking, is it Surfer Stitch that's not shiftable? You know, the earliest you could pull this off in theory, typically would be on turn 5. You play Hades on turn 4. Turn 5, you can exert him, banish a Stitch, and play a Surfer Stitch. I mean, I feel like it's probably too situational to be consistent. So I don't know how valuable it'll be. It's also like I would rather have the Mickey that lets you just play pay 2 and then play a character from your hand for free. I think it's like a steel Mickey that's totally busted. When you actually get to pull it off, which is fairly uncommon. A Trumpeteer, it's just flat out play a character for free for when you pay 2 ink and exert them.
Oh, well.
Yeah. I think I'd rather have what's that?
I was going to say Relentless Beast would go well with this, but if you can't pull this off till turn 5, it'd be kind of pointless.
Yeah. I don't.
It comes out on turn 6.
I like I said, I think this is just too inconsistent to warrant it to get a lot of play. But there may be some decks that could fit him in somewhere.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at all the 6+ cost characters that don't shift. It's interesting.
Yeah, because they also have to have a character that's in theory a cheaper character with the same cost that's going to make it valuable to do, right?
That's part of the issue.
Yeah.
However, like Tamatoa, you got the tiny green Tamatoa. You can do that. And there's a couple, but like you said, pretty inconsistent on what you can do with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could also, if you have him on the field, even on turn 5, if you're like trying to shift a Cinderella or something like that, I mean, you'd save your 5 ink to be able to do something else on the same turn. That's the other plus side. Even if they are shiftable, you're saving ink that way.
Yeah. I was just trying to think through that specifically spring in a Cinderella Stout-Hearted. If you brought in a Cinderella Stout-Hearted, I was trying to think, could you do that and then, like, you wouldn't then be able to play a song so she could challenge a ready character, though, because she's not dry.
Yeah.
She didn't shift.
Yeah, that's the other downside. It's not shifting, so it's a way to turn.
Yeah, but it's okay. Nope.
Fucking dogs. Okay.
For the record, I don't want to spend like much, if any, time for myself talking about the artwork. Generally, I don't care two shits about the artwork.
That's fair.
Like if it's like, hey, that's some cool artwork. Like that, I'm okay with that. But really, like digging into but what's it mean, man? I have no interest in that.
I mean, that's fair. The only thing that really threw me off was the green tentacle, because I don't know who has green tentacles. But yeah, it's pretty cool when they're all like themed.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's fair. I will clap again.
Ready, set, go.
3, 2, 1. All right, so on to card 75, which is a new Hey. Bumbling Rooster, 3 ink, inkable, 2 attack, 3 willpower, quest for 2, and is uncommon. When you play this character, if an opponent has more cards in their inkwell than you may put the top card of your deck into your inkwell face down and exerted. Green ramp. That's pretty sick. That might be a first. Putting something into your inkwell from green. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about the inkwell and ramping from green. Yeah, I like this. The 2 lore. I mean, you get some value right off of it just by playing it, and then even if you only quest with it once or twice, hey, that's still pretty decent. You get some couple extra lore in there. Yeah, I like it. And generally, I think in a lot of decks that you're playing, like I don't think you would put this in a ramp deck because you're not going to be behind in ink often. But if you're playing something that's a little bit cheaper, you've got some cheaper cards in there. This is a way to try and help keep up with the inkwell, to keep your inkwell growing without having to sacrifice a draw into it. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, if you go second, you're almost guaranteed to be lower ink on your third turn. And then if they're playing ramp, then you're definitely guaranteed to be
for the whole game.
Yeah, pretty much for the whole game. So play all these you want. Yeah, I mean, this would probably go in my green deck for sure. 76.
Hera, Queen of the Gods. She's a 3 cost, inkable, with 1 strength and 3 willpower. She quests for 2 as Ward. She's rare. Says your character's named Zeus gain Ward, and your character's named Hercules gain Evasive. Interesting. So basing this off of just the historical stuff, I'm going to generally say I don't think it's strong enough, but holy crap, can you imagine the 6-3 resist to Hercules with Evasive? Because I hate it.
That'd be awesome.
So like this feels very situational, but man, it's strong when you get it because she's got Ward, so she's not, she's going to avoid most things. The common cleanser to that for steel anyway was something like, Big Tink or which only does 1 damage, or Grab Your Swords, which does 2 damage. So she dodges either one of them, obviously not both of them. That would be enough to take her out. Otherwise you just keep her ready most of the time, and all of a sudden, woof. That some of the Hercules could be pretty crazy. I'm not sure. I can't think of a Zeus off the top of my head that I would be like, oh yeah, I want that Zeus to have Ward. So I don't see a lot of value there. But on the Hercules side, the main one I'm seeing is the big Herc, which is really strong when it works. As a
the only Zeus I can think of is the purple Challenger.
I wonder if I'm gonna take a wild stab and say they've probably added more.
I hope. Zeus is tight.
Wow. Confirmed they did add more, not many. There was a purple Zeus in the first chapter that was Rush and Challenger 4. They added one more we'll get to when we get to the Z's of green. So stay tuned.
That could be interesting.
Yeah. I didn't like it until I saw the Hercules, or remembered the Hercules that was over there. It might be good enough. It might be good enough with those couple Hercules to make it really strong when you get that. And this card is decent enough and inkable. 1-3 with that quest for 2 it's not good, but it's not bad. Might be enough.
We'll go on to 77. Jacques, Connoisseur of Climbing. 3 cost, inkable, 1 strength, 4 willpower. Quest for 2, and he's common. When you play this character, chosen opposing character gains reckless during their next turn. They can't quest and must challenge if able. Wow. I mean, when you built your red-green deck, that just makes you challenge into bad things. Here's one more to add to it.
Yeah. I liked that red-green deck. That was like the whole concept around it was trying to make you attack things you didn't want to attack. That was back, I think that was during first chapter, I think. Maybe Floodborn.
Maybe 1 and 2, yeah.
Definitely before Inklands. I think it really was just first chapter. It was fun, not very strong. I don't know if Jacques is what was missing, but I might try it again just because it was a fun deck to try to control your opponent in kind of unique ways. Not a strong. I don't think this is strong, but it can be fun. It's a fun mechanic.
78.
Jasmine, Desert Warrior. She's a 5-cost uninkable. That is a 3/3, 3 strength, 3 willpower. Quest for 2 is rare and says when you play this character and whenever she's challenged, each opponent chooses and discards a card. When I first read this, my initial gut was going, man, oh man, that's really expensive for a 3/3. That quest for 2. But I think that the questing for 2 makes her a decent enough target that your opponent's gonna want to kind of challenge her. And the fact that she gets value just by playing her, causing your opponent to discard, and then if they have to challenge it to remove her from the board to stop you from getting those 2 lore every turn, they have to discard another card. I think this could be decent in those discard decks. Most of the discard decks, though, that I've seen, I'm trying to think through this one, they're not looking to like hurry to win, right? They're just trying to get you to top decking and then beat you with card advantage.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not that good. Hopefully in those typical green discard decks, your opponent has no hand by turn 5, so she's entirely useless. You play her because they have no cards in hand, so there's no value, and then they can just punch her off the board because they have no cards in hand. I talked myself right out of it. I don't think it's that great.
This is almost the exact same as the Bell Hidden Archer from set 2. 5 cost uninkable, 3/3. She can shift though. Whenever this character is challenged, the challenging character's player discards all cards in their hand. Quest for 3. It's exactly the same thing as far as turn 5. Basically not going to work.
Yeah, and that is a really good comparison because that bell, I don't think I've ever had somebody hit that bell and she quested for 3. I'm sorry, hit that bell and have to discard anything.
Oh yeah, no, they empty their hand or they have 1 or 2 useless cards in their hand. They're like, I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm gonna kill your bell.
Yeah,
I stopped playing it very quickly after it came out. I was like, man, this is a great card. It stopped being great.
Yep. I'm glad that wasn't on recording because I would have said the same thing. And then we'd be looking back at that video going, nope, it wasn't good.
Yeah, true. 79. No, just kidding. She is enchanted.
Yeah, it's an interesting wispy background, like wispy effect. I don't know.
Yeah. The real 79.
The real
Megara. Captivating Cynic. She costs 3. She's uninkable. She hits for 3. Sorry. She 3 attack, 6 willpower. Quest for 2. She's common. When you play this character, choose and discard a card or banish this character. So we're getting like a purple bounce theme here, except for from the board, you're discarding from your hand. This is interesting. That's 3/6 is a pretty big. As long as you're drawing, I would discard a card for that.
I don't think
all depends
I
on the deck.
would.
That's
Yeah, I think generally I wouldn't. I think discarding a card is typically going to be worse than I'd rather have like a 3/3 or a 3/4 or a 4/3 or something like that. Stat line is what I don't know. I think discarding a card is too expensive to make up for 2 or 3 more willpower.
Yeah, only if you're in a high draw deck would this actually be worth it. But I mean, turn 3 with a 6 willpower, I mean, she's not going anywhere for a turn or 2 unless they have a removal. But
yeah,
I don't know. It could be okay. Let's go to 80.
80. Megara, Liberated One. 5 cost, inkable. 4 strength, 4 willpower. Quest for 2. Has ward. And whenever you play a character named Hercules, you may ready this character. She is uncommon. 4/4 is a decent stat line. 2 lore. I don't think there are enough Hercules to make that like super valuable. Like you're not gonna be able to play a Hercules every turn and like keep her ready to protect her from with her ward. But even if you just ready her a time or two, it might be okay. And that is one of the, when you ready this, it doesn't prevent you from questing again. So you could like quest and get 4 lore off her for the same turn. That actually might be enough to flip it for me. I was going to say it's not enough value, but the fact that you could quest it twice, it adds, it kind of plays into that theme where you can kind of sneak out a win where your opponent thinks he's got you at 18, then you all of a sudden you quest twice with Megara. I don't know.
2
What do you think?
cost is the cheapest Hercules. So, I mean, late game, if you have 2 Hercules in her hand, she could quest 3, well, I guess 4 times. If you had 3 Hercules in your hand at your turn 6, where she can quest, technically you could get 8 lore. If you had 3 of those in your hand, you're just saving it for this exact moment in time. Extremely situational. But, yeah. I mean, a green-gray deck, this could be pretty decent with it.
Even like a turn 5, you play her. Turn 6, you quest with her. You drop the big Hercules. Or maybe, there's a couple big Hercules out there that are 6 cost, right? Even if you only get the quest 1 extra time, might be. I think it's decent enough.
Yeah, I mean, themed deck-ish, kind of.
Yeah. Is she good enough without the Hercules effect? I don't think so.
It's close.
I don't think so, because she loses her, like, the ward is pointless without a bodyguard or her being ready. Not entirely pointless. It's an over-exaggeration, but it's not nearly as valuable.
It's close. If she were a 4 cost and didn't have the other one, maybe. Didn't have the Hercules effect, but
yeah.
I don't know. 81. Pain, Immortal Sidekick, cost 3. He's inkable. 2 attack, 4 willpower, quest for 2, and he is uncommon. Vanilla.
Pretty vanilla.
Stick around a little bit. Decent stat line, I guess. I think most everything that's like 3 is like 3/3 or 1/4 or... Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
82.
82. Panic, Immortal Sidekick. Also Immortal Sidekick. 4 ink. Inkable. 3 strength, 3 willpower. Quest for 2, uncommon, says, while this character is exerted, if you have a character named Pain in play, your villain characters can't be challenged. Are these the top and bottom of the same artwork? Just noticed that. I was
just thinking.
Yeah, they are.
Yes. Yes, they are.
I don't think this is great. It's like a bad bodyguard.
Interesting.
And Panic, I think it's just not enough. I'm trying to picture some villain characters that you're going to have in play that your opponent is going to want to kill more than Panic.
Yeah. Or Pain.
Or Pain, yeah. And I'm, frankly, both of them are 2, they quest for 2. They're not incredibly difficult to deal with, 2, 4, 3, 3. Not too hard to deal with. As far as if I swung a character into them, they're not going to just totally one-shot me.
Yeah.
With a typical character that I might have on turn 4 or 5-ish. Especially so much so that I would rather, I'd rather be running this character into a different villain character you have. I just I don't think is quite that valuable.
Yeah, I don't. Being that neither of them are villains either, that kind of sucks because that opens up to either one of them dying and then this whole thing being ruined. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. I don't know what this would tie in with villain wise. They both quest for 2. They're pretty valuable targets themselves, so I would just hit these first.
Yep.
83. Pegasus Cloud Racer. He cost 5. He's inkable, 3 attack, 3 willpower. He is shiftable for 3. He has evasive. He quests for 2. He is uncommon. When you play this character, if you use shift to play him, your characters gain evasive until the start of your next turn. This could be a good late game. I've got a decent board. Haha, you can't attack me. That could be pretty interesting. Even if, what do we have?
Yeah.
I think. Oh, we don't have a Pegasus yet, except for this set. I don't think
so.
So whatever he shifts from, is it worth it? Even if on your last turn, you drop a cheaper Pegasus, there has to be a cheaper Pegasus, and then pay the 3 just to get the evasive to hold you off to your last turn. Could be interesting.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I think you absolutely could. Turn. I think you absolutely could do that especially if you know you're that close. Trying to make it hard for your opponent to clear the board. Sure. I don't think this is bad. Just because at least he has evasive quest for 2, 3, 3. Isn't a bad stat line, especially if you get to shift it in. Giving everything evasive until the start of your next turn could be good. I mean, even if you want to use that to punch into some evasives, it can be situationally nice too. So either protect your characters or deal with some of their evasive characters. I think this could be a good card to put in a lot of green decks just to have answers to other evasives, if nothing else.
Yeah. I mean, it could serve a couple purposes, which is what you really want.
Yeah.
I like it. 84 is
Pegasus.
Hey, look at that.
Gift for Hercules. 1 cost inkable, 1/1, quest for 1, common, and evasive. So I think this is unique. A 1-drop evasive character. Okay, I think it goes great with, I think you'll put some of these in to pair up with your other Pegasus so you can shift them in, if nothing else. Yeah. The fact that he's evasive makes it kind of nice. I mean, it's not like you're going to be playing this trying to quest out to win the game, and the fact that he's evasive is going to be the big difference. But he's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine, and he's a good shift. I mean, he's good to have in your deck so you can shift the Pegasus.
That's exactly it. 85 is Pete, Born to Cheat. 2 ink, uninkable. 2 strength, 3 willpower. Quest for 1, super rare. Whenever this character quests while he has 5 attack or more, return chosen character with 2 attack or less to their player's hand.
There's another not a May ability. And he can't pick himself. Because he has to have 5 or more.
Have 5.
Yeah. So.
I mean, it's kind of a May because you have to boost him to 5. But
yeah, well, yeah. But if he had, if you're Yeah. I guess fair enough. If you
If
you wouldn't boost
accidentally
him to
boost
5. Yeah, you wouldn't boost him to 5 in the quest with them, I guess. Fair enough. But not a May.
I don't know, man.
Not a May.
Accidents happen.
Yeah. Well, there's not too many effects that just flat out give you plus strength. It's usually plus strength. I'm thinking of Challenger, plus strength while attacking, but
yeah, plus strength, support. Yeah,
support would do it.
I'm not a big fan of this card.
Yeah. I think it's going to be too difficult to balance it. The fact that it's uninkable, it's just not enough valuable for it to be uninkable. Yeah. No, I don't like it. Burn it.
86.
Oh, interesting though. These are musketeers. It is a
I
musketeer.
didn't notice that.
So
Dreamborn
those things
Villain
that
Musketeer.
buff musketeers would hit this. Interesting. Just worth noting, I'm going to say, because I don't have enough to add on that, but all of those musketeer characters that buff other musketeers would buff this. It's a musketeer.
A villain musketeer. That's interesting. They're supposed to be heroes.
I would have thought.
86.
86. Pete, Rotten Guy. 4 inkable. 1 strength, 5 willpower. Quest for 2 and is uncommon. And has no text on the card. No,
I don't like this either.
Nope. 1/5 is just not enough. That is just not enough.
Maybe if he quested for 3, would I consider it? But I still don't think so. Even then, I don't.
So this
can't
is
do anything if he's the only thing on your board.
This is Rapunzel gifted with healing from set 1. The strongest card, one of the strongest cards from set 1. Only with no text. 4 cost, 1/5, 2 lore.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
I mean, what made Rapunzel good wasn't her stat line.
yeah, that's very true.
So, I don't see it.
All right, 87. Prince Philip, Vanquisher of Foes. A 9 cost, inkable. 6 attack, 6 willpower, Floodborn hero, Prince. Shift for 6. Is that the highest shift so far? I think so. That's crazy. Evasive, only characters with, I don't need to read that. You know it. He quests for 3. He's super rare. And when you play this character, banish all opposing damaged characters. Whew. Big Tink to Prince Philip. Oof.
That'd be real expensive. You might be able to sing.
Extremely expensive.
You might be able to sing a Grab Your Swords.
Big Tink, tap Hades, banish Prince Philip, put him in.
Okay, yeah.
It's a big lineup, but
yeah.
Cool.
Just, yeah. Here's one of those evasive cards that's got a big stat line.
Oh, yeah, also true. I forgot we talked about that.
I think we were talking about that with purple. No, was it purple? I don't know. It was the Peter Pan that gave Rush. I think that was purple. Gave Rush to all your evasives, so they have a big stat line.
Yes, that was purple.
I like it. I like it. If you've got a Prince Philip, I don't remember enough Prince Philips. I don't think there's a ton of them before this set. So,
I'm thinking Flynn.
There was one in the first chapter. It was Amber.
Oh, Amber. Yeah.
And
he's 4 cost. Ugh.
Yeah. It was before was kind of meh. We're about to see some more as we get through the rest of this set, but I think it's pretty decent. I mean, what am I saying? It's pretty decent. It's strong if you can get it on the board. Banish all of your opposing damaged characters. That's not a question. That's obviously strong. 6/6 evasive is obviously strong. Questing for 3 is busted. Um, yeah, I
it's
mean,
the last part of your sentence that hurts.
yeah, it's if you can get them onto the board, it's real good. And I think it's a lot easier to get something like this on the board than it is to get Purple Dragon. So there was the Madam Mim Purple Dragon from the second set.
Second.
And she was a 5/7 evasive, quested for 4, but had to bounce 2 characters. Like, this is easier to get on the board than that.
Yeah.
And I think it's frankly just stronger. I understand it's less lore, but it's still 6/6 V5/7. I think this is just better.
Yes.
And not a legendary.
It could be interesting. It could be very interesting to see how this is played.
Yeah.
I think Hades is going to be his best friend.
I think there are some other ways to do it right, because, yeah, I mean, there's some other ways. Because I don't know that I would want to banish my 4-cost character to get this in. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That Hades is just weird to me.
Maybe set 5 will find more Prince Phillips.
Maybe. I mean, there's more Prince Phillips coming still yet, so.
Yeah, more. 88.
Speak of. Prince Philip, Warden of the Woods, 4-cost uninkable, 3 strength, 4 willpower, quest for 2. It's a rare card that says your other hero characters gain ward. If he wasn't uninkable, I'd feel better about this.
Yeah.
3/4 is not a great stat line, but understandable. That's questing for 2. Other hero characters gaining ward can be really strong at times, right? I mean, ward is a pretty strong mechanic. Unfortunately, he doesn't have ward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you put him in just so you can shift the other Prince Philip on him. Because I do not think this is just bad. I think it's meh. And it can work well as an enabler for other cards in your deck. So if you've got the big Prince Philip, that's a big card. That can be a big bomb for you. You can have some other heroes that can benefit from the ward ability. Frankly, you'll have to be better than I am at remembering that your characters have ward and seeing ward on your opponents so that you don't cast into that. But
man, if we could just have like tokens or something to put on cards that said they had ward.
Oh, yeah, I have those. Just don't ever think about it. Actually, I mean, even I could have tokens on there and it wouldn't be enough for me. So
that's fair. 89. The Fates. Only one eye. They cost 1. They're inkable. They hit for 2. 1 willpower. 1 lore. Common. Storyborn ally. When you play this character, look at the top card of each opponent's deck. That is definitely new, right? Looking into somebody else's deck?
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
Yeah. It's okay. I'm trying to think of. So this is the same. I'm looking at this and comparing it to Chernobog's Followers, which is a purple 1-cost 2/1, same stat line. I'd much rather draw a card than look at my opponent's deck, but that's purple, green 1-costs. There's not a ton.
Yeah, you got the Diablo. You could
Zazu from the last set.
See the hand.
Zazu's okay. I'd rather have Diablo, but Diablo's the 1/2 stat line versus the 2/1. I think 1/2 is quite a bit weaker than 2/1. I mean, it's not bad to look at the top of your opponent's deck, but I think I would probably find a different 1-cost to put in my deck.
It's fair. I think I agree. 90.
The Muses, Proclaimers of Heroes. It's a 4-cost inkable with 2 strength and 4 willpower. Quest for 1 has ward. and says whenever you play a song, you may return a chosen character with 2 attack or less to their player's hand, and it is rare. Frankly, I am sick of seeing things that are chosen character with 2 attack or less to their player's hand. I don't feel like that is very strong. I have found myself in far too many situations where it's not 2 or less, right? That what I'm wanting to target is there's just not many, if anything, that's 2 or less, and these cards feel like duds in my hand.
When I use Befuddle, I use it at the beginning of the game so I can jump ahead for a turn or 2. After that, I very rarely use it. This is turn 4. This is turn 4 and you play a song.
Yeah.
So this is more like turn 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool when it works. I don't think that's oh my god, this is going to save me this game.
No.
Yeah. I don't think that's great at all.
Yeah. Because that card is just not good enough without that text.
Yeah. Oh, definitely not.
Yeah. And that text isn't good enough to make up the gap. So, nope.
91, Tor the Florist. He cost 5. He is inkable. He has 4 strength. He has 7 willpower. He quests for 1. He's a common. And his scissors suck.
Well, this is the one that I noticed. I wondered if the art was AI generated because the shears clearly wouldn't work. Yeah, it's.
I don't know what other 5-drop I'd put in there, but I'd put something in there.
Yeah, I'd put
Megara in there. She's 4/4 instead of 4/7, but she's better.
I don't see this getting a lot of play. I think it may be one of those that there's some matchup that gets kind of challenging where you need something with a big booty that can punch decently. That's avoiding the Madame Medusas and the world's greatest criminal masterminds. For attack is a nice spot to be right now with the way the last store championships were going. So maybe it finds a home somewhere, but I generally agree. I don't think it's just not enough there for me to be excited to have this in my list.
92,
Zeus, Mr. Lightning Bolts. 3-cost inkable. He is a 0 strength, 5 willpower. Whenever this character challenges another character, he gets plus attack equal to the attack of the chosen character. Not the chosen character. My mistake. This turn. He quests for 2 and it's super rare. Interesting. So you can pick whatever character on the board has the biggest attack and swing for the fences. He will have that attack. Man, that is interesting. So it's obviously very difficult / impossible to try. Like, you're gonna have to protect him if he gets exerted because your opponent's gonna want to attack into a 0 strength defender. Because he only gets that plus attack when he's challenging or for that turn. But it could be nice to have this on the board, play a Maui, swing with a Maui, and then swing again with this and have another 6 attack on the board. Like that can be
feels good.
That could be pretty big. What was the other card we just looked at that played with Zeus?
Hera gives her ward.
Oh, gives him ward. Eh.
Yeah, it doesn't really protect him.
Not enough.
While he's...
not while he's exerted.
I can see that getting some play.
Maybe. I'm thinking it's not quite enough. But maybe. Yeah, I just don't think it's enough because I think that you might get 1 attack off with it. But like the 2 lore becomes Like you're either using it to get 2 lore and only 2 lore because your opponent's going to target this pretty quickly, I would believe.
Yeah.
Or you're using it to punch once and then you're probably going to sacrifice. It's going to be sacrificed. He's going to be gone soon. So, but you could also use this to take out your opponent's Chernobog. Because it doesn't have to be your character. You could target their character and swing right back into his Chernobog and take out his Chernobog with a 3 cost.
Yeah.
So I think that's how he would get used more often than not, is as a ram to just go kill one thing and die immediately.
Yeah, the 2 lore is, if you killed the last thing, you might get the quest the next turn.
Maybe.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
93, dodge. Cost 2, it's inkable, it's an action. Chosen character gains ward and evasive until the start of your next turn. Could be useful. Ward and evasive. I mean, if you're in your last turn and you drop a big bomb that you need to stay on the board.
Yeah, my gut
is to super protect it.
My gut says no. Maybe if anything, it's going to be a 1 or 2 of. It's not going to be very many. No. I feel like it's obviously great at protecting something, but it's just too situational. You'd end up inking it most of the time, I think.
Yeah. 94.
Make the potion. It's an action. 2 cost uninkable. Choose one. Banish chosen item. Or deal 2 damage to chosen damaged character. And it's a common.
Just has to have that stipulation that it has to be damaged already.
Yeah. Yep. That's unfortunate.
Yep.
I think this is too situational, too specific to be uninkable. Inkable, this becomes good. I like that a lot. But the fact that this is going to get stuck in my hand unless or until my opponent has an item I want to banish or a damaged character that 2 extra damage would be impactful on. Yuck.
Yeah, that's going to be a no for me. 95, Under the Sea. 8 cost, uninkable, action song, sing together 8. Put all opposing characters with 2 attack or less on the bottom of their player's deck in any order. Rare.
Michael would be real upset with that.
I was about to say this is an aggro destroyer right here.
Yeah.
Other than that, once you get to 8 singable or
I don't think this has any value because obviously you're probably not going to get this off on turn 8 because it's a sing together, so you can get it off sooner than that. But frankly, if you've lived long enough to get to this point, you've got the aggro guy under enough control that he's probably already lost the game. It being uninkable makes it very meh.
Turn 4 is the earliest you can sing this. If all your characters last that long.
Yeah. Turn 5. Because you need to sing with the 4 cost, right?
Oh, true. Yeah.
So yeah.
Oof. Yeah, my aggro deck is...
Unless you end up...
I'm going to win by turn 5 or I'm not going to win. So.
Yeah, unless you're running like some Amber stuff, right, that can sing for bonus, right?
That's true, yeah.
That could do it on turn 4 pretty easily with a Cinderella and a Ariel singer. That'd be 8 right there. Just the 2 of them.
Typically don't mix those with green Amber, though.
Not historically. Maybe you do now. I don't think you do for this card.
I don't think you do specifically for this, yeah.
I don't think this card is still strong enough, but yeah. You're right. Historically, we haven't seen Steel Song paired with green.
96.
96. Ursula's Trickery. It's an action. 1 cost, uninkable. Each opponent may choose and discard a card. For each opponent who doesn't, you may draw a card. I kind of like these cards. They're obviously in your green discard deck. It's not bad, right? You get your opponent to discard a card, and if they don't, you cycle this card. You get to draw a card. Actually, when I look at it like that, I don't know that I will ever discard this card, because effectively it only ever cost my opponent an ink. They drew this card, they spend an ink, and then replaced it immediately. Ooh. Yeah, I was going to say I like this card because it allows for some more discard and then get to draw a card. I think this is great in a group game.
Yeah.
If you have 2 opponents that discard
really
and
hard.
2 that don't, then you get to draw 2 cards still, and that feels pretty good. But in a typical head-to-head match, this is 1 ink to thin your deck. Yeah, I don't change my mind again. I did it again. I talked myself right out of it. I don't think it is good.
That's I don't know.
I thought that was going to be decent, but as soon as I looked at it that way, I just spin an ink to draw a card. I don't like that. I mean, there's times when that's decent, but most of the time that's not what you're wanting to do.
This might be a throw 2 in for when you do play group games or you're desperate for a draw, but
if we start playing more group games, I will build a group deck,
specifically,
and this will go in it. Like it'll have this, and then like the Ursula from the first chapter, because that was hilarious the one time that pulled off. The everybody lose a lore, you draw a card for every lore lost that way.
Yeah. Stupid.
It was hilarious to draw 7
It was
cards.
amazing. It was amazing.
But I think otherwise, outside of group games, it won't make my deck.
Yeah, it's not huge. 97. We don't talk about Bruno. 5 inkable action song. Return chosen character to their player's hand. Then that player discards a card at random. I'm very curious as to how. Oh, and it's rare. How Lorcana is going to do the random. Is it I just point at a card? Is it lay your cards face down and they pick one? Well, actually, that player discards a card at random, so I guess they would get to pick. But blindly? That's my question.
Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna do that. I mean, they'll pick a way to do a random card. I'm not too worried about that. But is the card good?
No.
I think it is. Bouncing a character. So, in some instance, by that point in the game, a lot of times you're top decking. So I can just bounce your biggest character and force you to discard it. If it's not that, it's a delay. You're bouncing a card to hand is typically just slowing your opponent down, and then you're also forcing them to discard a card. So if they've got a few cards in hand, you may get them to discard the character they bounce. You may not. Obviously, I'm comparing this to a little bit like a let's Elsa, let the storm rage on, let it go. From the first chapter, right? So that sent for 5 inkable, sent the card to their inkwell. This one sends it to their hand and they discard a card. Um,
And this is inkable.
and this is
Oh no,
also
Let It Go
inkable.
was too. Never
Yeah,
mind.
they were both inkable. So, I think those two cards are pretty comparable, and there are plenty of time. There are enough times, maybe not plenty of times, but there are enough times where I'm trying to find a way to get a card off the board without banishing it.
Yeah.
And this does that.
Yeah, I guess my other thing is they didn't put a limit on it, like the 2 attack or less, or 4-5 attack or more. So that is pretty awesome. And it's singable. I guess that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
No,
I think it's decent.
In a discard deck, I think this could work really well.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's great.
Or any green deck, really. It could be useful for sure.
But it's decent.
That actually makes sense. 98? Oh,
nope.
Just kidding. Enchanted. That's actually pretty cool artwork.
Hey, and that one doesn't have a black background. It actually has things going on.
Actually, if you look at like the very top left, it is black. But there's enough artwork to fill it enough that it looks really cool.
Yeah. It's an interesting one.
I like it. Now, 98.
Now 98. Hidden Ink
this
Caster.
card.
This is our first item. It is a 2-cost uninkable. Says when you play this item, draw a card. I like that. All cards in your hand count as having inkable. And it's common. Interesting.
This card's awesome.
All cards count as inkable. That is really interesting. Can this let you? This will be interesting because this will allow you to run more uninkables in your deck, right? So as long as once you hit this, then uninkables are no longer a thing, and you can just ink all those cards that I said. Well, that being uninkable makes it too expensive.
That changes things.
You become reliant on hitting this card though, which isn't good, right? So having a card that like, well, this deck is unplayable if I don't hit my Hidden Ink Caster because it's got too much uninkable in it.
Hitting it or keeping it on the board.
Yeah. So like that's not great. But obviously if you hit one, then you can ink the rest even though it's uninkable because all of your cards count as having ink. So it'll be a balancing point because I think it will allow you to run more uninkables, but you still can't go crazy with your uninkables because you don't want to become so dependent on this. It's kind of like having a Fishbone Quill where you become so dependent on having the Fishbone Quill in play. Generally that's blue, so you have enough other ramp as well. And then once you get to, 8, 9, 10 ink, you don't really need to be double inking anymore, or you're not. If you miss inking a turn, it's not the end of the game. Unless you're playing like Cody and you're just going absolutely ham and have 18 ink and
it happens.
But that's just a nasty deck. So I think it's interesting. Unfortunately, a card like this, I don't really like running into cards like this because now I kind of have to go back and reevaluate all the cards we just evaluated with a whole new different lens of, yeah, I said it's uninkable, but it could be inked. You could ink it with Hidden Ink Caster, but
you really don't want to bump your.
I think it's too volatile for me to experiment with this in a deck that I would build. But if this ends up in some meta deck, then I'll play it. I'll figure it out. But it's not going to be in one of my homebrews.
Really? See,
because if I'm not going to be putting in extra uninkables, then I'm not going to put this in there. I'd rather have a different card. If I'm running my normal amount of uninkables.
2 ink to draw a card, though. And then even any of your uninkables that you were going to already have in your deck are now inkable.
Yeah, but we just were talking about the green action card that was 1 ink to draw a card not being valuable enough. And if I'm running my normal uninkable count, I don't need it normally. Like most of the time, I'm not getting flooded or, blocked by having too many uninkables. Not to say never.
Yeah.
Just not normal.
Definitely not never, but not typically. I don't know. I think I would run this regardless, just in case. Or I'm like, oh, I don't need this uninkable card right now. I'm going to ink it. I don't know. It could be interesting. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
99, signed contract, cost 2, it's inkable. Whenever an opponent plays a song, you may draw a card. It's uncommon. That could be very interesting if you know you're going up against a Steel Song deck or just any song-heavy deck. But other than that,
I could see this going in as, again, if they end up adding a sideboard, I could see it being in a sideboard deck or being in the sideboard. Or I could see this being a 1 or 2 of in your deck, and just knowing that you ink it if you're going into that matchup. The fact that it's inkable means that you can throw 1 or 2 in and not feel real bad about it.
Yep.
Yeah. I could put that in.
100.
Vision Slab item, 3 cost inkable. At the start of your turn, if an opposing character has damage, gain a lore. Then trapped, damage counters can't be removed. And it's uncommon. I need to read the fine print. Is removed the same as moved?
Yes. I read somewhere that to remove it, you have to move it first.
In order to move it, you have to remove it, you mean?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, but it doesn't count as dealing damage.
Right.
So damage counters can't be moved either. This is interesting. I kind of like it. In reality, is probably too situational to be good. It still can be one of those that can be pretty nice to, if your opponent is relying on moving damage around or healing up their characters or doing things like that, this can be a really good counter to it. So I think in the current meta, this has no place. But if you think back to like Chapter 1 days when Rapunzel was the big thing that you had to hit the Rapunzel to get those draws. Those were a huge thing. All of a sudden, this becomes a lot more valuable and starts making decks just to prevent that. So without a meta shift, I don't think this is good enough. If there's a meta shift, it could become viable again.
Yeah.
Or become viable for the first time. I don't know how you want to look at it. But
101. We got Hidden Cove, a tranquil haven. Cost 1. It is inkable. You move for 1, 6 willpower, and it's common. Characters get +1 attack and +1 willpower while here. That's kind of interesting. That is, Pride Lands gave you a +2 willpower. Gives you both. That's pretty cool.
Personally, I don't like the things that add a willpower because I always forget and it screws me up.
Yep.
But getting +1/+1 is kind of cool. I think it's fairly strong. Some of those lower cost decks, making a 2/2 or 3/3 that's a pretty nice stat boost. Like that's a decent bump, right? Yeah, I think this could have a place in a lot of decks. Not all decks, but it's fairly, you might be able to get it out and get some use out of it sometimes. Although I could also see this being, if you had another card you're wanting to put in, this gets cut pretty quickly too. So,
Yeah.
Maybe not. Probably not. If I'm thinking through like some of the meta decks right now and think of the value of each card, and this doesn't get close to the value of any of those cards.
Yeah, an aggro deck adds a little more protection, but then instead of dropping a new character, you're paying to move. So,
yeah.
Yeah. All right. What's 102?
Ursula's Garden, full of the unfortunate. 4-cost inkable. 2 to move there. 7 willpower. Gives you 1 lore per turn. Rare. That says, while you have an exerted character here, opposing characters get -1 lore.
Oof.
Wow. It feels a little bit expensive as a 4-cost, but can be huge, right? Every opposing character gets -1 lore. It's good.
That's a pretty late game move, though. I mean, turn 5 is when you'd actually activate it.
Yeah.
And aggro decks are trying to win by then. So as long as you're not playing against an aggro deck, you can slow somebody down in their late game. But
yeah,
it's interesting. Mixing in locations is hard for me though, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it's
when to play is the hard part.
Well, and the other thing with the fact that they don't swing back, right, makes it not feel very good because their opponent can just swing into it 1,000 times and not lose a card. They just lose the time that character could have been questing or punching other things. I don't know. But with giving everything -1 lore, everything that had 1 lore on it is just going to swing at this. Which means it's probably going to kill it pretty quickly. So I don't think it's very strong. I'm sure that there are obviously matchups that is good, but I think generally it's not going to be strong enough.
Yeah. That'd be interesting. I don't know. We'll see. I'm super excited to see what decks people build, what decks I can build.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really cool. But that officially makes us halfway done. What's your favorite card of green from set 4?
I think Hera at the moment. I think I want to play Hera with a bunch of Hades. Give all my Hades evasive. And
Hercules.
Yep, Hercules. Like I said, Hercules. Play all my Hercules, give them all evasive, and really upset some people. Or people who are playing evasive, like, screw up their plans to play evasive.
Yeah, that would screw up their plans.
Like, I think that's probably my like undervalued at the moment that I think could be pretty cool.
Hera, Hercules, Megara combo could be very interesting.
You?
I had to say Prince Philip or Pegasus. I really like both of those. I think they could be very interesting.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting. There's a lot of good ones in there.
Then Diablo.
I was gonna say I like the Diablo. To get into draw card. I don't know. This video's already long.
It's very true. We're halfway done. We'll hit you guys with Ruby next. Let us know what you guys think about the Emerald set. What's your favorite card? What are you going to play? What are you most excited for? We will see you guys in the next video.
Thanks, guys.